Hi everyone, I'm Rick Beato. In today's Everything Music, I'd like to talk about how to EQ, compress, de-ess, and affect a lead vocal for a song. I was thinking about this. I've had some people write to me and ask me about this, since this is actually what I do for a living. And I was thinking I need to find something that a vocalist that I can use a vocal track from a song that's not released. And this is actually a demo that I did with a very dear friend of mine named Michael Johns, or Mike Lee, who is a fantastic Australian singer that passed away about 4 years ago. He was on American Idol, I would say in around 2007 or so, where he finished 7th and should have won. He was a fantastic singer and a very dear friend of mine. I worked with him when he was 19, when he had first come over to the States. We met here in Atlanta, and I wrote songs with him, and I wrote 11 songs with him, and he got signed to a record deal with Maverick Records at the time that the record never came out. But anyways, he was here visiting one time, probably about 7, 8, 9 years ago, something like that, and we started a song. And I was going through my hard drive, and I found it, and I thought, well, this would be a great tribute to Mike to use his vocal and use this demo of the song that we never really finished. I want to kind of talk about what my process is with it, and what how to prepare a vocal for mixing, and really kind of how to edit a vocal. Now, this vocal was done as a scratch, but Mike's such a great singer, was such a great singer, that there were never really any scratch vocals with him. This was one pass. We had written it. He was reading the lyrics off a piece of paper. There's some plosives in it where he bumped the mic, and I'm going to show you how to deal with those. And we're going to listen to the vocals solo right now to get to kind of capture the tone of it, figure out how we're going to affect it, how we're going to EQ it, and what things we need to do to prepare it to fit into the mix. Because I like to start with the vocals on a lot of songs instead of the drums and the bass, especially songs where the song is going to be built around that. So, okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is just listen to the vocal down solo. I can already hear problems. First thing I hear is on the first word, I hear a plosive. Now, a plosive is just a wind going across the microphone. Or it can be a popped P or B. In this case, it's wind going over the microphone. I'm going to take out a standard Pro Tools EQ here, and I'm going to spot EQ all the plosives, and any type of anomalies that need to be fixed, I will fix on the main vocal track. Before I even put any effects on it or do anything, I'll go through and I'll find if there's harsh notes that need to have 3K taken out of them, if there are plosives that need to have bottom end taken out of them, I will do that. Now, this is a demo vocal, so held with a microphone up close, so there's some things without a pop filter that I'm not going to be able to get out, but I can definitely improve it. I hear at the end of that, there's a wind sound right there. And I'm going to take this, I'm going to put the high pass filter at about, I'd say 100, and I'd do it about 110 hertz here. Let's see. I'm going to actually EQ the entire word because I think it needs it. Fixed. Walk in the unknown. Close your eyes and feel. Let's see here. There's another plosive there. EQ that. Close your eyes and feel. That's good. There's a little bit of wind on the F for feel, but you're not going to notice that in the mix. And just let go. That's pretty good. Right there, I've gone through. Take a breath. So I have a B there. Usually on Bs, you got to watch it. They look like kick drums here. So that B, I'm going to go like that. I'm going to spot EQ. Breath. That's going to need a little bit more. So I'm going to actually make the EQ curve a little steeper and take a little bit more bottom end out of it. There we go. Breath. I'm going to put a fade in there so you don't hear the pop, and it should sound good. Breath, as you're coming into light. There's a lot of wind. Coming into light. There's a lot of wind going over the mic there. I'm going to spot EQ all of that, but I'm going to bring it back to 110 hertz because I don't want to take the bottom end out of the vocal and make it sound thin.
You're coming into life.
Let me try it here.
You're coming into life. You're coming in.
I think I'm going to do a little bit more of it.
As you're coming into life.
That helps. I'm going to try it with a little bit more low end taken out of it. You have to be really careful. You don't want to thin the vocal
As
out.
you're coming into life.
That is going to work. You're gonna hear. That's gonna work a lot better in the track.
Come, walk in the
So the next thing I need to do is I need to rebalance the vocal in the track. Well, I actually haven't even balanced it at all. So so I've done the spot EQing, and now let's figure out how we're going to EQ and compress the vocal and de-ess it. Okay, I'm going to listen to this vocal where I just spot EQ'd.
There's another world to find if you just let go.
I've gotten out about as much as I can. Like I said, this was a demo and it was done without a pop filter. I can tell that because I remember Mike would always sing in the control room with a 57. He liked to hold the microphone and sing in front of the speakers. And he got great performances, and that's why his pitch was so good as well. Many times people will sing in front of the speakers, and it really helps their pitch. Sometimes you can throw the speakers out of phase, and you won't get any bleed, but I don't really care about bleed that much. If you have a directional mic, a cardioid mic, like an SM7 or SM57, sure, both Sures, you don't have any problem with that. Okay, so now that I have this, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to first compress the vocal. And then I'm going to de-ess it. I want to compress it.
Take a breath.
I've pulled up a Chrysalis LG Waves 1176. That's a good all-around compressor.
Take a breath. As you're coming into life. There's another.
I want the voice to stand out from the track, so that compression is going to keep any of those low spots, especially when he goes in his low register. It's going to bring those up in volume. Sometimes I do parallel compression on it, but I don't really need to do that. Mike's voice has so much tone, and it's really consistent because he's not varying in any distance from the mic. He was such a consistent singer, you never had to do things like that with him. And sometimes I use parallel compression for an effect as well. But a lot of times that's when the voice goes down below a certain threshold, that parallel compression will fill in and actually keep that the body to the voice. So that's good. Next thing I'm going to bring in is a de-esser. I always bring in a de-esser as first in my chain. I like to de-esser.
Take a breath. As you're coming in.
Now I have it set at about 7K, and it's even peaking in on some of the S's.
Take a breath. As you're coming into life.
When I get to the when I get to the pre-chorus, here I'm getting about 9 dB of gain reduction on the S there. But Mike never sounds like he's lisping. If you have too much de-essing on a vocal, if you have too much gain reduction, it'll sound like the singer has a lisp. You have to be very, very careful of that. So this is set at about 7K, and I feel like the voice is really present now, and there's no essing going on. I have an EQ set here ready to go just in case, an EQ 7, but 7 band, but I'm not going to use it yet unless I feel like I need the voice to come out. I'm going to play it with the track again.
So here we are now.
Now I feel like it's
So here.
So I have an EQ set here with a voice that I'm going to put on.
So here we are now.
Now, what I'm doing is I'm adding about 825 hertz. I'm adding some, not low mids, but some mid-range to the voice to jump out of the track as well. And I'm adding a little bit of 2.3 or 2.14K, so 2.1K. I'm not adding it up at the 3K mark, which is going to get harsh, 3 to 4K. I'm adding it a little bit lower there to give it some more presence to stick out from the track.
So here
Play from the top one more time.
come, walk in the unknown. Close your eyes and feel, and just let go.
Now that's really good. Now I want to talk about the reverb that I'm going to use. Okay, the reverb I'm going to use on the track is a Lexicon 224 by Universal Audio. This is a great reverb. And one of the things I want to do with the reverb, the first thing I do is I always bring up an EQ right after it. Now in this particular one, I pretty much always will high pass the reverb, meaning I take low end out of the reverb, especially when the singer's singing in a low range, when it's a male singer. You don't have to do it necessarily with female singers because they're not getting that low register, but when you have a lot of plosives and you have a lot of low end in the voice, you don't want that low end being exacerbated by the reverb. So I will high pass. I'm high passing it at 140 hertz. And then I have a high shelf on it at about 11K. I'm adding about, 8 dB on the top end. So I'm EQing my reverb. I always do that. One of the things, I've got a 3-second reverb on it, but I have a very long pre-delay. This pre-delay is 106 milliseconds. So one of the reasons to have a long pre-delay is that the voice stays up front and then the reverb trails behind. Anytime you want to use a reverb, you have to think about the context, the tempo of the song, and if there are spaces in the song. You have to have spaces to use reverb. If there's no space in the vocal, there's no point in using a reverb, really. It's better to use delays. But this has a lot of gaps in the melody, so you're going to hear. I'll play it with a reverb, a solo, so you can hear it.
Come, walk in the unknown.
It's a pretty long reverb there. I can get away with it because I have such a long pre-delay on it. The pre-delay is the amount of time it takes before the reverb starts, and 106 milliseconds is a long pre-delay. You know, many times you'll use, 20, 30, 40-second pre-delay. It really depends on the track. But the slower the tempo of the song and the more intimate you want the voice, use a long pre-delay. Okay?
Come,
I'm going to put it in the mix.
come, walk in the unknown.
That sounds good. I feel like the vocal needs a little bit of delay, so I have an echo put right here. This time, echo is a delay. This is an echo farm. This is old line 6 delay that has been in Pro Tools forever. I have a tape delay effect, and I have it set at 500 milliseconds. Okay, I'm going to unmute the delay so you can hear what it sounds like. You can hear it. You have one strong repeat.
Come, walk.
You're hearing the other what? I don't worry about the time of the track. I don't go by the beat PMs. I do it by feel. Many times I'll use a stereo reverb and I'll set the delay times to be different on each side. And I do that so that the delay has movement. If the delay is perfectly in time with a track, you won't hear it. It has to actually be a little bit out of time, or at least one of the sides does have to be out of time with the track. Okay? So, this is a little bit faster than the track.
Walk in the unknown.
It's giving more space around the vocal.
Close your eyes and
It's giving it a depth of field effect,
just let.
but still intimate.
Take a breath as you come up.
Now, that right there was what I call a throw delay. A throw delay is a delay that's set up. I always will set my tune up with my vocals with one main reverb, a delay, and then a throw delay. The throw delay is a single repeat. Usually it'll be set to a quarter note, something like that. And many times I will EQ it. I'm lo-fiing it here.
As you come into.
And I'm panning it to one side so it stays out of the middle. It doesn't need to be in the middle. It's great when things come in. You always want to keep in mind that stereo field.
As you come into light, there's another world to find. If you just let
have a different effect. I'm using a channel strip on the doubled vocals, so it has a different EQ. I'm EQing a little bit more of the top end out of it. I don't want the vocals to sound, the double track to sound exactly the same. I want it to sound like a double. And I'll do the same thing in my chorus vocals where I have them doubled. Now, this particular channel strip is a metric halo channel strip that's been with Pro Tools since the very beginning of Pro Tools. It's got EQ, it's got a de-esser, it's got a compressor, a gate. It's got a really good 6-band EQ that you can get any weird anomalies with a very tight Q and 24 dB of plus or minus 24 dB on the EQ. So it's great at taking out vocal anomalies that are unpleasing to the ear, that may be out of tune with the track. Now, there's no auto-tune on this. Mike never needed to be auto-tuned.
So here we are now.
But one of the things it needs is a de-esser on that first so. So I'm putting the de-esser.
So here we.
I totally fixed it.
So here we are now. Where you gonna run? The light in your eyes.
Now that was a sung background vocal that's obviously in stereo. Now I haven't listened to this song I think we wrote it about 8 years ago. We never even finished it. Now there's no drums on this. Like I said, it was a demo. We never got any further than this. We didn't even get to the bridge on it, as I remember. The chorus vocals have channel strip plug-in on them. Again, I've got EQ and compression on. I'm taking out some low mids around 62 hertz. I'm taking out about 1 dB of 2.7. That's an area that can get really harsh with mic, especially on E sounds. This chorus doesn't have really any of those, so this is really a good. This is an easy one to get to work in the track without having to do any radical surgical de-essing or surgical EQing, where I would actually write it in the track. But I will go through vocals, the entire vocal, when I'm doing a record. Like I said, with the singer for Needtobreathe, Bear, his vocal would always need to be spot EQ'd, because anytime he had an E sound, it would be really piercing to the ear, and he's a phenomenal singer. And I never wanted people to have to, back off the channel, and especially these things get exacerbated by compression. Compression is the enemy when you have a harsh vocal, so you have to really be careful about that. Sometimes I'll sidechain an EQ just to deal with those sections, but it's easier just to spot EQ it so that you have it perfectly written in case I'm not mixing it. I've had things mixed by all the big mixers out there, and I want my vocal to be pristine when it goes in there, where there's no need for them to spend the time to do that. So I will write the whole vocal with all the EQ. If there's automation, I'll use clip gain, I'll automate everything, and then I'll rewrite the vocal track. That's my process for getting a vocal in a mix, and the things that I think about. It's tempo dependent, content dependent. It's really what kind of emotional feel. Some vocals are great just bone dry, right in your face. Some vocals are great when they're drenched in effects, so it's a personal taste thing. Anyways, I really wanted to do this song when I found it in my hard drive tonight. I said, what can I do? What vocalist can I do? And I saw this tune, and Mike was a dear, dear friend of mine. He was on American Idol in 2008. He made it to number 7, I believe. And he was really beloved. He was a really beloved guy, just an incredibly nice, funny guy, and one of the greatest singers I ever worked with. Never had to fix any vocals, never auto-tune anything. I mean, just what a pure singer, pure talent. He died tragically of a blood clot in his leg at 32. I believe Mike was 32. Anyways, he was a dear friend of mine. That's all for now. I'm going to do some more of these videos with recording in Pro Tools and mixing tutorials, because I've had a lot of questions on those. I mean, I've been doing this for a living for the last 25 years or so. This is really what I do. This is funny that you see me do all these other music things with classical music and jazz and ear training and film scoring and all that, but this is actually what I do for a living. So that's all for now. Please subscribe here to my Everything Music YouTube channel. If you want to support the cause, you can donate to the same email as the Beato book. If you want the Beato book, it's rickbeato1@gmail.com. Also, if you have any ideas on videos to do about mixing or recording in Pro Tools, let me know. Thanks for watching. I'm Rick Beato.